They will leave the door open, huh?
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, can you hear me? Okay, cool. So, welcome to this afternoon session. So that is going to be on the MSCA and Inclusiveness. Thank you, first of all, for choosing to come and discuss with us. So it's going to be, we try and keep it as an interactive session, so we will love for you to join in. We have a very broad panel, so with various different expertise. And the panel is, I have with me Felix Beckendorf, that is going to be the rapporteur, so he's going to be delivering afterwards to the general audience what we have discussed during this session. We have then Joachim Capablo, who is the coordinator of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie program Iberos, and he's going to be telling us more about this. Then we have Maria Mitic, who is a policy analyst from the MSCA unit, among other things. You might tell us more during your introduction. We have then Irina Mazak, who is a MSCA for Ukraine fellow in Ireland. And last but not least, we have Erle Rickman, that is a science advisor from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Estonia. Okay, so during the preparation of this session, we discussed about the term inclusiveness, and we agreed to disagree in the sense that we gave various different interpretations, or we thought that there are various different ways that we can look at the word inclusiveness. It's a bit of a hard task to introduce you to this idea, and maybe the only thing that I wanted to highlight before giving the word to the different panelists is that the real idea is that inclusiveness can be in a way seen as a number of practices that really allow to give representativeness to different perspectives, different experiences, and give value to different contributions. And to give space to individuals from various different walks of life. In our community, this is something that I think it's very valuable. Because each of us can bring a different perspective depending on the experiences and the history that he or her or she has. And it's really like implementing measures that are going to be building on these differences and giving space to these differences that might be more or less visible, but I think it would be also important to highlight the importance of expanding, of thinking of inclusiveness when we think of, for example, diverse abilities, but also neurodiversity. And I think this is something that might not be touched upon during this session, but it's something interesting to think about when thinking of inclusiveness. And then, it's just to finish, it's that by fostering inclusiveness, so our community taps into a wealth of creativity, innovation, and resilience. And we draw strength from this diversity. And I think it really agrees with the title of this conference, is that, we want to draw strength from diversity to really be able to navigate the challenges that the ever-changing world is actually facing us with. So without much further ado, I would like to give the word to you. So if we can have the first slide with the Mentimeter. So you're going to have to scan the QR code, I think. If we can have the QR code on the screen. Getting there? Maybe. Maybe not.
I don't know.
No?
Probably.
Sorry, can you put the Mentimeter on the screen? I think she said that I'm not.
No?
No, this
it's
is for the slides.
No, it's not this. I'm not. Sorry, could you share the Mentimeter?
Hmm?
Anyway, so this idea was like when we're going to have the Mentimeter, I mean, it's really a way to get to know you more and get to know, let's say, why you're here and like to understand, I mean, your background. If we can have the slide on or the link, that would be useful. Otherwise, we skip it and we get into the session. Having a yes, but it has, I don't have it, so can we have the number from the...
Shall we... In
the meantime?
Yeah, in the meantime...
You can go into menti.com, as you probably know. You can go into menti.com, and then you can go, the number would be 7689 6283. I repeat, 7689 6283.
I don't have the question. Is that I don't have the questions though, so I cannot really. So, I mean, meanwhile, I mean, like, maybe something about the objectives of this session is really to learn. Okay.
Okay.
Good. So, yeah, I mean, like, we wanted to know a bit about yourself. Okay, cool. So maybe we give a few more seconds, I mean, like, to reply to the question. Okay. So yeah, it would be interesting also to understand more about what you brought you here today. And I can hear the echo of my voice. I don't know. I hear the echo of my voice. Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. So, I mean, like, we have, I mean, like, MSCA and, like, diversity and inclusion are somehow, they have the same representativity. Okay, maybe we can move to the following question. And this is, like, really to give us, I mean, like, an idea about, I mean, like, if you have ever been awarded an MSCA or a EU-funded project. Okay. So, as many of us on stage, I mean, you have also been benefiting from funding from the EU. Okay. Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing the screen. So, if we go back to the slide, to the first slide. Thank you. So, as I was saying, I mean, like, the actions that can
And it's actually really
moved to Campus Iberus, that is a consortium of 4 universities in the northeast part of Spain, involving 4 universities, University of Zaragoza, University of La Rioja, University of Lleida, and Public University of Navarra, in 4 different regions of Spain. And I'm the coordinator of a Marie Curie program called Iberus Experience, involving 11 researchers with 11 research projects in our 4 universities, and they are going to be there for 3 years, and they are coming from 9 nationalities. So I will explain later this integration program that we have at Campus Iberus.
Okay, thank you, Joaquin. And then we have Maria. Maria, if you can give us, a brief intro, maybe also on your different roles.
Yes, I can. Yes, do you hear me well? Otherwise, I'm a loudspeaker, so no worries. I can get rid of the mic if needed. So yes, my name is Maria. I'm policy analyst at the European Commission at the MSCA unit, which doesn't tell you much, the policy analyst I mean. So I have several tasks in the unit.
because last year I was in Czech Republic.
Context. And also, secondly, the university building that housed my host department was found to be have some really unhealthy mold. So it was shut down, and we had to move, and it was a huge building, 7 stores. And we had to move to some temporary space, and it also meant that actually the department was closed for 6 months. So, but actually what was the most important part of my experience and also about my future was these were the societal developments. In 2015 and 16, it came down to Finnish history as the migration crisis initiated by Russia. That was the first really big migration crisis. And
by that you mean that like there was a very strong wave of immigration within Finland,
and also to some other Nordic states, because now we know that it was Russia who opened up this Arctic migration route as a sort of instrument of their own foreign and security policy. And when previously Finland had received something like 700 or maybe 800 immigrants per year, then in 2015 and 2016, there were days when up to 1,000 people came across the Finnish border. And so it was a huge crisis, or we can call it like a cluster crisis in nowadays terms, because there was this political level, social level, cultural crisis, and it all was also very costly in economic terms. And to cope with this crisis, the Finnish government and also the local authorities in the area where the immigrants were placed, they sought for help of researchers because to deal with these problems. And I, as a migration researcher, I also got involved. I helped out drafting training programs for the immigrants as well as the local authorities, and participated in all sorts of workshops. It was very immediate and very intense experience. But I sort of saw how it worked, and I really liked it that I could work with these problems and so on. Mm-hmm. So, and also, although as a researcher, I had previously been exposed to international comparative studies, but I didn't know much about international politics. So it sort of drove me to another discipline, and I was sold. I was being infected, and that
in a positive way.
In a positive way, yes, and that also helped to pave way for this employment at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs later on. So this experience actually had a big impact on me, and we are now talking about mobility and inclusiveness. If my Marie Curie had been limited just to the university world, it would have been very, very different experience.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, it's really highlighting how this intersectoral experience, it's really important and beneficial, and it has, although unexpected, maybe in your specific
unintended,
case,
yes.
Unintended indeed. It really had an impact also on your career afterwards. So it's where you are right now. Also. Talking, so you mentioned, these migratory waves, but there is also, let's say. So with Joaquin, maybe we can instead talk about voluntary mobility. And before you were mentioning about the program that you are currently working for, and about maybe training and experiences the fellows or the participants are actually exposed to. If you could share with us a bit about the program.
Sure. So, as I was mentioning before, I'm the coordinator of a postdoctoral Marie Curie co-fund program, and this implies mobility. So the researchers must fulfill the Marie Curie regulation of not being in Spain more than 1 year in the last 3. And after a selection process out of 150 applications, we selected 11 researchers from 9 different nationalities from 4 different continents. So we have researchers from Argentina, from Brazil, from Italy, from Spain, also from Nigeria, also from Vietnam and Philippines. So it's a huge variety of nationalities. And in Campus Iberus, there is a program that has been created in the collaboration with the doctoral schools of 4 universities. It was thought at the beginning for PhD researchers out of 4 universities. And this program is called Iberus Connect. And as the name explains, is making pairs between a researcher with some experience in the city with a new incomer. So usually are the researchers, the PhD researchers at the last year of their doctorate period that are connected as mentors with the new incomers. And in this case, we have connected our new incomers postdoctoral researchers with PhD researchers with already some years of experience in our cities. And which is the objective? So we have the welcome offices at the universities to help them with the bureaucratic issues, how to find accommodation, all the processes, bureaucratic processes for the nationality and so on. But we want them to really integrate in the city life. And this connection helps them with questions as what can we do in the weekend? So what can I do this Friday? Where can I go if I have a visit here with my family? So these daily issues or daily like topics that you feel more comfortable if you speak with someone, let's say, at your same levels. And it is important that they were in your position 2-3 years before, so they can understand you and which could be your issues when arriving at a new place with a new culture. Not only the language could be a barrier, but also the cultural differences of Spain. And in each city of our universities, we have a figure that is called ambassador, and they are the responsible for organizing activities for networking. So they organize dinners, they organize trips, they organize parties, networking events, games, so that they dynamize this community of researchers. And the focus of that is to, with this program, to integrate them in the social life so that they can participate in, as we were mentioning this morning, in the policy issues. So when you understand the place where you are based, it is easier to be aware of what is happening there and give another perspective, but sometimes it's very useful for us to have another perspective from outside, how this issue is solved in other countries, in other situations. So this is our experience.
I mean, in a way, what you're saying, I mean, it's also that, it can also give a better experience to the participant, to the fellows, also in terms of long-term stay in that country, in that city. So it could be beneficial also from the community point of view to enhance the permanence of the people on site, because like more integration may also lead to longer-term perspective for the fellows.
Yeah, the idea of the program, of this Marie Curie program, is talent attraction, and the idea is to stabilize them. But some of them maybe can return to their countries, and we think that could be very helpful if they learn a new culture, a new way of doing things, and to bring to their country or to their new placement or new university or new sector where they are going to develop their future career. So. We consider that as a positive input in the future opportunities.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for sharing this experience. And we are going to be talking about it. A bit more later on. So we discussed. About your different hats, Maria. So. And I maybe like it would be nice to hear from you. I mean, like about the different possibilities that there are, the different programs that there are, maybe as a basis also for further discussion also with the participants from of this session. So if you could give us an overview of some, let's say, of the actions that have been implemented by the MSCA.
Yeah, sure. I will give you an overview of what we are doing, maybe a bit of planning as well, but what I would like to start with is actually to just link, because we were talking about voluntary mobility, so, I'm kind of talking about what we called in the session force, but I think the red thread in the end is that we are talking about international talent, we are talking about safeguarding, about attracting or preserving or supporting or, avoiding waste of talent. So I think what I would like to mention in a way when it comes to MSCA is, okay, how do we do that? In the context that MSCA is an excellence program, so we're talking about a success rate of 14% across the program. So many high-quality proposals are not selected. So we are proud of it, it's appreciated, but very often in the discourse, public discourse, excellence and inclusiveness are opposed. So this is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is we're talking about MSCA being appreciated for being a bottom-up program. So technically speaking, of course, any researcher, including those who are at risk with different legal statuses, can apply. Yet the reality of this is we have fixed calls for proposals. That's it. So we have them once a year, and they are when they are. We have the mobility rule that you mentioned. So imagine a researcher coming to a country with their family. They just are starting to settle, a lot of practicalities are involved, and then yet we have a requirement, which is the core of the program, which we will not change because it is what the program is about. So what do we do with that? And here I'm relating to something that Claire also mentioned in the plenary, is that we have the 5 main actions, we have the support programs, but on top of this, what we do as a bottom-up program to still support some policy priorities, and I think academic freedom, and in relation to that is support for international talent, at-risk talent. What we can do, what we do, is we have these so-called coordination support actions. So we have grants of 1 to 2 million euros in our work program that we dedicate to specific priorities. What was mentioned today was international cooperation, feedback to policy, so trying to support also the several priorities that we have and mapping contribution of MSCA to different EU priorities. And what we also have are these coordination and support actions focusing specifically on supporting researchers at risk. The 2 very concrete examples are the first project that we funded that started in 2019 and ended last year is Inspire Europe. Some of you may have heard of it. So this is not, and the second one is now going on, Inspire Europe Plus, coordinated by Scholars at Risk. This is not a grant supporting directly researchers, so we don't provide fellowships like we would do in MSCA, but both projects support structures. So we are talking about 2 consortia of either international or national support organizations who have the expertise, who have the knowledge of what is needed on the ground. So we basically provide them with a grant so that they can, on the one hand, provide some kind of guidance and information to researchers at risk with whom they work directly. But at the same time, by providing this support, one of the objectives is that we strengthen the support that exists at European level. Because if there are fellowships, they exist at national level, experiences are not the same in every country, the level of budget is not the same in every country across Europe, but what we would like to provide, and what we did provide, is this kind of peer learning, so sharing of experience and bringing these sometimes single organizations, sometimes networks together so that they can provide support. So maybe just some numbers which can sometimes say much or sometimes not, but in Inspire Europe, so the first project provided guidance to around 300 researchers, so it means through smaller or larger scale information or training sessions. Researchers were provided with, let's say, guidance on how to apply for projects, how to apply for MSCA. They were also linked with employers, especially from the business sector. This is something that the project focused on, but also information and guidance were provided to employers, potential employers, on how to include this researchers and support them.
And maybe, sorry, Maria, just to say that this was not a targeted program, so it was not targeting a specific, let's say, population or country. So, let's say, a mobility, for example, as the MSCA for Ukraine program.
No.
It was.
No, as I said, yes. As I said, so this was not a fellowship program. Of course, as a bottom-up program, we anyhow don't have geographic priorities or thematic priorities. So this was really like a single grant for a consortium of organizations. Technically speaking, most of them are like non-governmental organizations that operate in Europe to provide, and it's kind of a trickle-down effect, so that provide and further support to researchers at risk. So these are the two grants. Maybe I can just hint, we can discuss a bit later. There is a third grant that will be published next year, where we would like to focus a bit more on specific training and networking for researchers. So after two grants of kind of trying to consolidate the support structures, and we will have something that is not an MSCA action, but it will be managed by MSCA, and it is an action that's proposed by the European Parliament, which is to test a fellowship scheme at European level for researchers at risk, because something like this does not exist, and we've had a lot of discussions with our stakeholders working on the ground. So this is something that will be done, as I said, testing, meaning that if this first project works well and we see that it's feasible, it might become a program in the future, but this is something that's not yet the time to discuss because it's ongoing. And maybe just last point to mention that what we also developed for MSc beneficiaries, but not only, is what, guidelines for inclusion of researchers at risk together with the consortium of the Inspire Europe. It's available online. So basically there we provided some kind of tips and some kind of guidelines for organizations to integrate and to include researchers at risk in their research projects. And we also provided a number of examples of good practice. As I said, this is not only for MSc beneficiaries. Any organization willing to do so can just take a look and see what kind of actions they can take to integrate researchers in their projects.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, like, I know that it's only a few examples of different actions, but I think that maybe during the question we can then.
But it's a lot, I'm aware.
We can go into the details. I mean, like, maybe of the programs. And then, I mean, like, with Irina, maybe you can, we mentioned that, I mean, we have benefited from, from one of these fellowships from the MSCA for Ukraine. So maybe if you could share with us your experience, and then maybe we're gonna then go into further details about your research. But if you could share first your experience about the fellowship.
Thank you. Actually, it's very unusual because I'm not used to share my personal experience here. But still, I will try to compare my Marie Curie Fellowship in 2015 and after the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. Because to be honest, it's completely different experience. I can actually compare it with experience of migrants and experience to be a refugee. Because of different status. When you, in migration, you usually know your destination. You prepared financially, mentally, physically. You learn something about country you're going to be. You learn something about culture. You usually know your job opportunities. You even study like a schooling system for your children. But in case when you're forced to flee your country, you didn't expect that a lot of things which going on in your life. Actually, you kind of don't prepare for these changes. And to be honest, I wasn't prepared. So first of all, I want to say that Marie Curie Action for Ukraine fellowship, it was probably the best things happened to me after the beginning of the war. Because it, of course, gives a lot of advantages. And when we're talking about similarities between my two fellowships, these advantages are similar. Of course, you can do your research in very high-level environmental. You have a lot of possibilities for professional development. You have possibilities to participate in different conference webinars and so on. You have possibilities actually to build a network. And in your topic you studies, and also the main purpose here, you have possibility, actually you have budget to do the research. As I already told, I started my research without any budget in Czech Republic, so I'm very thankful to Masaryk University, because I was staying almost a year here and collected data for my research. But when I heard about this new scheme for Ukrainian displaced researchers, of course I applied. And the first challenge was to find actually mentor, academic mentor, and the host institution. I couldn't find in Czech Republic someone who will be interested in migrant health, for example. And fortunately, there was a website where host institution seeking for researchers. So I just used this website to find my mentor and host institution. I never been before to Ireland. I never know someone in this country. But thanks to Marie Curie for Ukraine action, actually, I have this possibility to find a place and to continue my research. I want to say also about some how to say, issues, a problem, because of course it's a kind of different experience to choose an institution, to prepare during, I don't know, a year, your application, your research proposal, to learn something about country, language, and so on, and go get this fellowship and go somewhere. But in my case, I actually faced two problems. I will explain them. Probably in future it will be helpful for next generation of scholars at risk, because I think both of these problems are organizational. And first, you understand, in order to relocate from Ukraine, after Czech Republic we come back in Ukraine, I need a budget for tickets and for 2 months rent apartment in Dublin. I think you can imagine how much it costs, so I didn't have this budget. And specialist from HR department. He was officially responsible, according to my documents from my host organization, to help me and my son with relocation. He actually proposed us to stay in Ukraine during 2 months and collect, working remotely, collect 2 salaries, because one is not enough, 2 salaries, and then go to Ireland. And actually, it was time when Russia shelling our village every other night. So, in order to my son was in safe place, I sent him to Kyiv, because capital is better protected. And he was staying during the night in underground. So I want to say that in a village you don't have like shelter. You wasn't prepared. You didn't build it for yourself, for your family. So the situation was critical, and after I get my first salary, I bought a ticket to Ireland and decided, go and was ready to stay in a refugee camp. But fortunately, academic environment and people in my department, like School of Population Health, they very supporting, very kind. So my mentor asked its head of department to help me, and department actually transfers this money I need for rent. So in this case, I want to say that actually later I understand that there is, I have something, there is some amount of money that we have in our Marie Curie budget. It calls the mobility allowance. And it's actually, I think it should be used in such situation when the scholar at risk need be relocated with their children and family. And it also could like support travel expenses. I want to say just that in my budget where's this money, but I don't know why I couldn't use it. So, and we arrived in Dublin actually 8th of May instead of 1st of April. So it's first things. I think it will be useful actually to, I don't know, like stress this possibility for host institutions that there is in budget this money and they could support relocation of scholar at risk. Another problem was also organizational. You have already mentioned, yes, that English is not my mother tongue. So when I arrived in Dublin, I was intended to take a semester of intensive English course to refresh my English and also advance my English skills and so on and so on. But the problem was that I know that I can spend the money from my budget for like improving my English, but the main issue was that nobody knows how many hours I allowed to spend for language courses. I think that similar situation could be with local languages if people are going to, I don't know, like Germany or another country. And according to the MSCA coordinator of my host institution, actually Marie Curie fellows, they are supposed to have appropriate level of English. I agree with this requirement, and of course they have to have this English skills. But when we're talking about scholar at risk, it's not always kind of possible because we were prepared that we will go somewhere and speak in another language. So I think it would be nice for host institutions because they worry how many hours I can spend, for example, from my, because I need to do research and it's additional hour to improve my skills in English. It would be nice to have kind of instruction. For example, I don't know, like a researcher at risk allowed to spend 100 hours per year for improving language skills. It could be local language and it could be English. It's depends. Yeah. Also, what I want to say it's that I'm very actually thankful for the possibility during my fellowship continue to teaching courses in my 2 Ukrainian universities and supervising students because one of the reasons of this fellowship was to help us to be in touch with our home institution. So also it helps us develop a relationship, collaboration between researchers in my host institution with researchers in my home institution.
Irina, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I have to,
Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's only like to give you maybe space like to share with us a few, only a few because we are, a bit already beyond schedule. If we could have the slides because, I thought while we were discussing, you mentioned, your research topic, and I think it would be really interesting to actually discuss this.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to show you kind of illustration from my Czech element of my research. I will not comment it much, but I want, the main idea was to show it, to explain that I think even if you have individual fellowship, your research outcomes could be useful for some kind of policy implication. So here we have a situation with Ukrainian children in Czech Republic in 2022. So we can see that 83% of them came to Czech Republic with mothers. 43% of them also have siblings with them. And we can see also information how going process of adaptation. Because 64% of children, they go to Czech school, so they started to learn in a new language. And also about the problem with making new friends, because it's process of adaptation and so on and so on. But also I want to stress that it is obvious that this situation is kind of caused by their refugee status and the war. And this all is connected to different issues they have in host country, including foreign language, different schooling system, and separation. I think it's one of the most painful. They suffer from separation from their fathers mainly, but also others, members of their family, and also their friends, especially in teenager age. It's very important for them. And also I want to show another illustration. It's about Ukrainian females in Czech Republic. Also, you can see how they actually estimate their mental and physical health, and we know that mental health they estimate 3 times worse than physical, because average age of my sample was 38 years old. And 70%, more than 70% of them, they came to Czech Republic with their children. And they mainly come from cities and towns in Ukraine, and they, more than 74% have employment in Ukraine. And when they arrive in Czech Republic, they have problem with knowledge of Czech language. So they were employed actually in very low, physically, manually jobs. Yeah. So it's also influenced their, especially mental health, very much. But still we can say that Ukrainian females mainly use problem focus strategy to deal with situations they in, and less avoidant focus. It means that they use more effective coping strategies, and it supports their psychological well-being. So yeah, you can see that level of depression, perceived stress, anxiety, and post-trauma stress is big issues for Ukrainian female refugees. I was compared my study with other studies conducted with Ukrainian refugees, and the result is similar. Also, results are similar to the studies conducted before with females from Syria, who also actually had and still having this post-traumatic stress disorder and problem with mainly with the mental health.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for giving us this insight. And I think it's really interesting, and also gives space, to maybe actions, or maybe gives us also, an opportunity to discuss of actions that are already, let's say, implemented or thought of like for displaced researchers, and with a focus maybe on access to the health system, and maybe also, you know, some support measures for, we discuss also employability, but also mental health, which is something, of course, that we can imagine, I mean, like, as you were showing, I mean, is impaired, I mean, is touched. So thank you very much for sharing, I mean, your experience and your research as well. And I mean, like, really building on what you were saying about the...
Sorry, it's my mistake.
I'm sorry. I mean, if someone brings us coffee, that would be that would be nice. That was a wishful. Anyway, so what you were saying, I mean, Irina, during your presentation, it was also that, I mean, it's important for policy, for research to inform policy, and really, I mean, of course, we are at this conference because, I mean, there is really this interest now to have this dialogue between research and policy. So I think, I mean, like, maybe briefly going back to earlier, you were mentioning about, you know, like, your experience and the influence that it had on your career. But while we were discussing, you were also focusing on the importance that what, let's say, your experience taught you about how mobility and inclusiveness can make better policy, let's say. So if you could tell us a bit more about this.
Well, this might be my phone ringing. I'm sorry for that. But thank you. This is a good question. But if I may, I would take a step back and ask, what is knowledge? And what do you mean by knowledge? And I argue that sometimes we think of knowledge as a product. But perhaps we should think more about it as a process. Because, I mean, if we aim for creating a...
mic is moving a bit.
Okay, I tried not to move my face again, sorry. When we aim to build up a smarter state or a knowledge-intense, science-intense European Union, then we can see that we actually need this wisdom and knowledge to install in, thank you very much, in all kind of processes. Oh. Okay, thank you. And we can't expect knowledge to be consumed as a product at only some stage. It wouldn't work like this. And the way I see mobility and inclusiveness is that they are sort of mechanisms for knowledge exchange and knowledge installation. And I would like to take Estonia, my own country, as an example here. Going back to the 1990s, we still call it the wild 90s. And after regaining independence, Estonia was a mess. It was on the verge of economic collapse, basically. And I mean, of course, the problem was not just about the economy. A lot of extensive reforms had to be carried out, and basically the whole state had to be rebuilt. And we didn't have time for that, because life was going on every day. We need these decisions, the laws, and everything at once. So, and how this great change was achieved was that in the first governments, now I'm losing it again, sorry, most members of the governments, or the majority of ministers, they had a degree in science or experience in research, in doing research. Well, quite many of them, they came right from the universities at that time. And so scientific advice was, in a way, very intensively embedded in policy making. Well, it didn't last for quite a long time, but for some years, and later it changed gradually. And of course, starting from the 2000s, the members of government in Estonia and the ministers, they are the usual politicians. But we can assume that these science-based compositions of governments, they actually made a big difference in Estonian success story. And maybe we could also use that kind of experience even today. For example, finding solutions for these cluster crises. Maybe we can sort of use that kind of approach again. And today, working in public sector, I really see the need for this quality knowledge, and also something that could be called perhaps strategic sensibility in decision making. And this strategic sensibility, this is the systematic knowledge, the systematic data that needs to be there for the great part of the process, not just for few moments. And taking the flip side, looking for this from the viewpoint of science and knowledge, to have an impact on the policy making, I mean, there has to be a demand from the policymakers' side, demand for the best knowledge, and also this desire for the strategic sensitivity. Because the existence of supply of knowledge alone will not improve the quality of policy making. So that's the question: how to receive that, how to get that.
Okay. Yeah. Do you
Well,
have
I
one
don't know.
final word? I think we are talking about skills in a way. So and like learning skills, and training for training new skills. So maybe I'm gonna, maybe you can, in a way, so if you could give us one comment on skills that could be interesting.
Maybe
and then
I
I'm
would
gonna
just say that this placements of scientists into the public sector, it's a way to go. I'm really an advocate for mobility, or even forced mobility, as Maria mentioned, because that will make the change.
Okay, thank you very much. And sorry to cutting you short. I'm sorry, I need to keep track of time. So, and Italian in charge of that. You can imagine the challenge on that. Okay, so really, so today we have already heard a lot about skills and training new skills, and so Yakin, so if you could briefly,
Okay.
but share your experience about training. So we have been discussing a lot, and so maybe if you could share with us some of the actions that have been implemented in your program.
So as Marie Curie program, the diverse experience is focused on training too. So it's excellent science, but also training on different topics. And we, in the recruiting process, So the researchers had to prepare not only the research proposal, but also a personal career development plan according to the European Union standards. And they have to update the first 6 months of the program or the recruitment, and then at the end. So, and we propose them different activities coming from the universities, for example, languages, so Spanish language course, and also soft skills that we have seen this morning, that the communication skills between policymakers and researchers is key, could be key. And we organize every year postdoctoral days, bringing together not only our 11 researchers from the program, but researchers from the 4 universities of the Campus Iberus, and taking topics as entrepreneurship, grant writing, open science, and this year it was project management and engagement and public communication, and we had a representative for the government of Aragon that was the responsible of science policy and with the sustainable development goals, and we had a talk there in which he was explaining us the different strategies of the government, the regional government of Aragon in terms of policy science and reaching these sustainable SDG goals 2030. And we also have this networking, so we have the 4 universities, but also we encourage them to join the Marie Curie Alumni Association. So I'm the chair of the Spain Portugal chapter, and we consider networking as key, and we prepare also some activities that we consider could be of interest, as career development trainings, entrepreneurship trainings, and how to work, soft skills to work in different sectors, so how to approach if you want to define a step in industry. So in the career development plans, first is self-assessment, then is exploring opportunities outside, then is define which training, so the luggage for your trip, so which trainings are you going to take, and then to plan everything, so to put in a program and which activities are you going to do the next month, the next year, and so in 3 years frame and 5 years framework. So it's highlight the importance that we give to training in our Marie Curie program, so that the future steps in the career of researchers could be successful, and they learn not only excellent science, but also some soft skills that could be useful if they want to explore new opportunities in public sector, in industry, and in other disciplines. As we have seen this morning, that multidisciplinary science is like the future approach of science. So the projects to tackle the global changes or the global crisis problems need to be tackled from different perspectives, bringing together different researchers from sociology, from philosophy, from engineering, physics, mathematics, so biology. So we consider that it could be very helpful for them to have this approach. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your perspective, and I mean, like also the organization about of your program. Sorry. Just a few words, maybe Maria, about the training, the training options that are also a key element of the different programs that you shared with us. So I think, I mean, like if you could comment on this, which is, I think, I mean, like we heard about language, I mean, about soft skills, and so I guess that there are some trainings that are also part of the programs that you have been mentioning before.
I'll try to somehow link to what has been said. Maybe at first sight not interconnected, but they in fact are. So briefly on all the points, I would like to start with the more general ones. So maybe on the link between, building bridges between scientists and policymakers, I'll start there. Again, you already heard today, but what we have started doing 2 years ago is organizing what we call science policy matchmaking events. So they have become an annual event now, basically in cooperation with JRC, so bringing together policymakers and researchers, not only MSCA researchers, so the event is open publicly, but also those interested in applying for an MSCA action. And then there we try to create space for policymakers and researchers to discuss, the available expertise and the needed expertise, and we also provide some examples of good practice. So this is something we started doing. We received positive feedback. So every year in May, June, we organize like a half-a-day event on this. So this is really to try to bring this potential in MSCA forward. When it comes to training needs in general, at the core of MSCA is training of researchers, and a lot of training has been produced over years. So what one of the priorities in the next grant that we will have next year on feedback to policy, there are 3 priorities, 3 main objectives of this grant, and one of them will actually be to look into the training needs and career support for our researchers, but also to bring together and systematize as much as this is possible all the training that has been produced in the program. So whether this will be in yet another platform, we don't know, but the idea is really to make this training publicly available and accessible so that our researchers or any researcher with a specific training need can just access and watch the recording or a video, have a reference, etc. So we will do some kind of mapping. Last but not least, what I did not mention in the first part of my intervention was MSCA for Ukraine, because Irina, is a great example of a fellow that is supported, of course, with the challenges and with the benefits of it. One thing I can say, and I have to say because I was part of the team working on it, it was at record time, very, 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 process. So the idea really behind the fellowship was that we mobilize the resources and we mobilize the expertise to be as swift as possible. I think the training that is provided is an interplay of European, national, institutional capacities and legislation and the frameworks that exist. So obviously for us as an EU program, we provide the structure, the infrastructure, the budget that is there. But a lot of the language training is something that even when I was, let's say, on the other side, when I was myself running the project, it always came up, whenever we were talking. So regardless of the let's say, origin of researchers at risk, regardless of the type of support that was provided, obviously first there was the mental health support. So we are talking really about first the personal support that's needed, but language is there. So I think it's a challenge that has been around. And of course, we need to think about it, but I think we're all trying, as I said, kind of in this interplay of different levels to address this. I think what I can say at this point is note is taken, and I think we probably need to have also further discussions with other fellows of MS Ukraine to see how we can all together work on this and providing support that is needed. This also comes for mobility allowance that is there. How it's used is something that goes a bit beyond at this point. I think just the program. I hope I spoke fast. I'm sorry, but
no, also thank you for bridging. Sorry, thank you also for bridging the different topics. And I think that one element is very clear that we can speak about inclusiveness, but there are so many different layers that go into it, and really discussing the interaction with policy. So it impacts. The institutional level, the program level, the institutional level, the personal level. So and at each level there are specific actions to be taken or to be implemented. So we have a few minutes for some questions from the audience. So I don't know if you had, if anyone from the audience would like to address any of the speakers on any of the topics that we have been discussing. Otherwise, as before, there was the coffee break, so you can also take that opportunity to interact. Please.
Thank you very much.
There is the mic that is around.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Fine. Okay. Thank you very much to all of you. It was really useful as well to know your own experiences. I I was Marie Curie doctoral network fellowship before, and I know the weaknesses of the program myself as well, different experiences as well. But I think I have the feeling that there is a lack of solutions here, or maybe we are talking about training, we have programs to support researchers because to get better qualifications, also to support them when they move to another country. As Irina said before, this is a huge problem when you just arrive to, maybe even not arrived into the country, because you need a pre-budget for that. And there are private companies, they already give you this kind of pre-budget just to move to another country. Another issue that I have myself was the lack of legal advice, because when you are a PhD student, but even if you are a postdoc or a researcher, it's the same. You are moving to another country with another laws, and you don't know the contract, because Marie Curie, you know that sometimes you go to the university, sometimes you go to an industry, you need to sign a contract and things like that. So my feeling here is that we all know the problem, so this is like a brainstorming, but there is not like a guideline how to resolve all these problems. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure this is the right word to say it, but I think we need to move forward to create this kind of guidelines, because we are talking about inclusiveness, and I think this is social problems, is inclusiveness as well. And I think the Marie Curie program needs to approach and give us these solutions and tools to resolve all these things. I don't know if you can push this kind of initiative.
I'm just gonna say that of course it's a tricky because every country, and I think every university is different. So I can imagine already at national level it's gonna be quite tricky. But there are now so there is now the network of the NCPs, and I think so there are some. There is a will to coordinate the implementation phase, but maybe you can...
not only will, I would say there's expertise and there's knowledge of the program that exists at national level. So maybe it's a good point, maybe I can start with that. No, maybe I can start with another stuff. It is always push and pull, when there is a lot of top-down, why is there a lot of top-down? And then at the same time, sometimes, as I already say it's an interplay at different levels. So this is not, there is the EU program and then everything is there, as already said, but I said, and Donata said as well, that this is an interplay of, how much control should be there. That's always the question, how much top-down should be there. But indeed, I think we have a very, very good and very strong support network at national levels. Our national contact points, NCPs, are there to provide guidance and to provide information to either beneficiaries or applicants, so those who plan to apply. So it, in a way, goes in this way that, at national level, there is a contact point that can be consulted, and they know the national situation best. So this is not up to the European Commission to say no. So you would go there, and then you would get feedback, and this is the feedback loop that we have, that we meet with our NCPs twice a year, that they provide very valuable practical feedback. We have colleagues also from the executive agency, who know the intricacies of the management of all the projects. So I think the way it works is that because we will get an informed type of feedback from the, at national level, and then react. And I can tell you, and I can assure you, and I've been in the unit for only 2 years, but in the work that we have done in feedback to policy, I have very concrete examples, we can talk about them during the break, of how the work program has been changed based on the discussions that we actually have had with our beneficiaries at the events that we organized, or with our NCP. So we're talking about concrete changes, the duration of a doctoral program, specific doctoral program, so it's just about feeding the loop and just going to the right person. I think somebody said today, sometimes you need to know where to go. Yeah. So it's really going to the national contact point, and then we actually get the message, and we reflect, and yes.
please.
So I would like to add that in the case of Spain, even regionally, we have different normatives and regulations. So even contacting the national contact point could be difficult to try to solve some issues. So in our case, we have 4 different regions involved in the consortium for different universities. And for each of the region, or if of the university, we prepare a welcome pack, a welcome brochure, telling them where to go. So this, if you have problems with this topic, so please, for legal issues, you have the support of this in your region, so locally, because at a Spanish level, I understand that it's very complex. So I understand that at European level, every country is different, and even regionally, we can find the same ones in Spain. So
I think the level of detail, complexity, nationally, regionally,
it's bringing from global to local. So.
Absolutely. And maybe I can just, I'm also here as a board member of the MCAA, so the Marie Curie Alumni Association. I think that's also an instrument that of all fellows, all beneficiaries from MSCA programs have, and it's really a way to access. So I guess that maybe access to information is key. So when I was a fellow, I got to know about the MCAA only the second year of my fellowship. But I think that we are getting better, and in the new contract that we have, I think we are really looking into improving this connection. And the MCAA can also be an answer, to this network, to the exchange of information, because it's also what the Campus Iberos, is doing, pairing. It's also something that we are trying to do, and really, by connecting to people, you can get information. So it can also be, but I hear, what you're saying, and experiences, but we can talk about tension, there are so many different levels, don't get me started.
But maybe just to say,
joking,
since you mentioned MCA, that there are also national and regional chapters, so, kind of direct contacts for a specific region that can be extremely useful.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the organization, and then we can discuss, about it. Indeed. As you were highlighting, there are the regional chapters that can really give you access to a more direct information about the conditions. In your area, in your city, and also maybe can really trickle down to the university or the institution.
Can I say just a quick thing?
Quickly.
I'm not well aware when I was having a problem. In particular, when I contacted the Curie Alumni Association, I was well aware that the association is asking for an ombudsperson, an ombudsperson, like a non-biased person when you have a problem related with the European Union, with the person, because it's not like I have a problem in the when you arrive to the country and you have a problem with the university in particular. So there is like a lack of a person or a tool when you need to speak aloud, when you have a problem specifically with your network or your program, you know what I mean. And they were saying, we are asking to the European Commission for this ombudsperson. There is the national ombudsperson, the European ombudsperson, but there is no ombudsperson for Horizon Europe or things like that.
Maybe, so I don't know how to, there are the different levels. I can imagine that, so it also depends on the organization of the program and the project. And I think that, more and more, different measures have been implemented, and there is so the MCAA, is giving, of course, it doesn't come only for the whistleblowing channel. There are many different levels of intervention, but maybe we can discuss that because we have really 2.5 minutes, to wrap up. So sorry, to cut short, but so I really don't know how to close this, but we have to revise a bit the structure of this session. Maybe if you can really quickly, but one word as a wish for something to be implemented in the future in MSCA actions. So to improve, I mean, and of course with a focus on inclusiveness, however you want to interpret the word.
If my,
Yeah.
sorry, it's echoing again. Maybe 4 sentences instead of 1 word?
No.
Well, when we are talking about innovation, we are more willing to recognize that innovation is a social process. But we could also do it while doing science. I mean, someone in the morning session mentioned the concept of teamwork that has been developed. And science as sociality and also prosociality may mean some collective actions like nudging teams, more social experimentation, more intersectionality. Let's open the door for those possibilities. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Joaquin,
Okay, I will be brief. So for me, the message could be so try to implement the measurements to get the right work-life balance. So to have the tools and soft skills and the training and the measurements around you that gives you better possibilities to have this work-life balance in the proper way. So.
Okay. Thank you. I mean,
I'll speak fast because I cannot use 1 word. I'm very sorry, and I really want to use this to talk about this about policy level, because I know synergies is use word, but the way that a large part of my work is really trying to create networks also across the Commission services and to work together. When I was on the stakeholder side, we were talking about better coordination, more coordination, and what I would like to see is that MSCA in this sense really links and has a central role in this. We're working with JRC, we have an informal group on academic freedom with different Commission services. So this has been happening in the last 2 years, and we are really doing our best to connect and, and to create this strong network, because this will have an impact also on our researchers, of course, in the community. So for me, I would just like to see this growing in the future, becoming stronger, so that we can, be a bit less into the silos mode and more kind of connected and networked.
Thank you. And Irina, last no seconds, we are over time, but of course, if you have a wish.
Yeah, I have a very big wish about next call for Ukrainian displaced researcher, in order to we can actually continue working in academic environmental, not go to unqualified jobs, and not lose our qualification, and instead of develop our professional skills, our research skills. And a very small wish. About if it's possible to organize training in policy brief writing within this program, it would be nice, especially for Ukrainian scholars. Yeah.
Thank you. So, really to close the session, and I know I'm taking you away from your coffee, but we had, oh my God, no. Really,
it's a sign from the sky.
We had a cloud word, and we wanted to collect your opinion, with 1 word that you are taking home from this session about inclusiveness. And so if you could put back the Mentimeter. And I promise that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's okay. Cool. Can you see the question? Can you skip this? No. Okay. Well, maybe I can, my take-home message is then, there is going to be a more exhaustive summary, let's say, from this session. But I think that, I mean, like, its key messages were really about, I mean, the need for training, for coordination, absolutely. Placement were highlighted as something that is really, I mean, is beneficial to support and to have further support, although we know that, I mean, it's something that the Commission, I mean, is really pushing for, but maybe understanding the importance of this interconnection already from the also the institution point of view. And yeah, the word that you said, I mean, strategic sensibility was interesting. I mean, worth exploring. So inclusion means knowledge, and supporting diversity, awareness, practical help, absolutely. So the importance of network, and I mean, we are seeing more and more, I mean, like, network among the project manager, I mean, like, also, I mean, the MCA, I mean, fellows, but not only fellows, but also a need for that, I mean, at the different levels. Okay, so, and I mean, like, the inclusion of mental health, thank you, because that's something really, really important. So I would like to thank you for being here, for bearing with us, for sorry for speeding up the session. And now, I mean, like, you have time for your coffee before the rest of the afternoon session. And thank you all, I mean, like, for being here.